For decades, the United States has been the most powerful country in the world. From military strength to economic influence, from global culture to technological innovation, America has dominated the international system since the end of World War II. But today, something remarkable is happening. A new power is rising. China. Factories across China produce goods that reach almost every corner of the planet. Chinese companies are expanding globally. Its military is modernizing faster than ever, and its economic influence is spreading across continents. This has led to a question that analysts, economists, and political leaders are now asking more seriously than ever before. Is China replacing the United States as the world's leading superpower? Or is the idea of America's decline greatly exaggerated? To understand this power shift, we need to look at history, economics, technology, and geopolitics. Because the story of China rising and America falling is far more complex than most headlines suggest. After World War II, the United States emerged as the undisputed leader of the global order. Its economy was massive, its military unmatched, its cultural influence enormous. American institutions helped shape international organizations like the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. The US dollar became the world's reserve currency. This meant that global trade, finance, and energy markets were deeply tied to the American economy. For decades, no country came close to challenging this dominance. But in the late 20th century, something began to change. China started opening its economy to the world. In the late 1970s, economic reforms transformed the Chinese system. Factories expanded rapidly, foreign investment poured in, exports exploded. China became known as the world's factory. Products labeled Made in China began appearing everywhere. From electronics to clothing, from machinery to consumer goods, Chinese manufacturing became a central pillar of global supply chains. As China's economy grew, its global influence also expanded. Today, China is the world's second-largest economy. In purchasing power terms, some economists argue that China has already surpassed the United States. But economic size alone does not define global power. True global leadership involves multiple factors: military strength, technological leadership, diplomatic influence, financial dominance, and cultural reach. This is where the comparison between China and the United States becomes more complicated. Let's start with economic power. China's economy has grown at an astonishing pace over the last 4 decades. Hundreds of millions of people were lifted out of poverty. Massive infrastructure projects transformed the country. Cities expanded rapidly. High-speed rail networks connected major regions. Ports, airports, and industrial zones turned China into a manufacturing giant. At the same time, Chinese companies began moving into advanced industries: electric vehicles, artificial intelligence, telecommunications, renewable energy. Companies like Huawei, BYD, and Alibaba became global names. China also launched one of the most ambitious economic strategies in modern history: the Belt and Road Initiative. This massive project aims to build infrastructure and trade networks across Asia, Europe, Africa, and beyond. By investing in roads, ports, railways, and energy projects in dozens of countries, China is expanding its economic and political influence worldwide. Critics argue that these investments create dependency. Supporters say they promote development and connectivity. Either way, the strategy clearly shows China's ambition to shape global trade routes and economic networks. But the United States still holds significant economic advantages. The U.S. economy remains the largest in the world in nominal terms. American financial markets are deeper and more influential than any other. The U.S. dollar dominates global finance. Most international trade is still conducted in dollars. Central banks hold large amounts of dollar reserves. This gives the United States enormous financial leverage. Another major advantage for America is innovation. Many of the world's most influential technology companies are American. Companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, NVIDIA, and Amazon dominate global markets. Silicon Valley remains the center of technological innovation. American universities attract top talent from around the world. Research institutions lead breakthroughs in artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and advanced computing. China is investing heavily in these areas as well. But the technological competition between the two countries is intense and ongoing. Now let's look at military power. The United States currently has the most powerful military in the world. Its defense budget is larger than the next several countries combined. American military bases are spread across multiple continents. Its Navy patrols global trade routes. Its Air Force and technological capabilities remain unmatched in many areas. China's diplomatic approach is somewhat different. Instead of traditional military alliances, China focuses more on economic partnerships, trade agreements, infrastructure investments, development financing. Through these tools, China builds influence in regions that were previously dominated by Western powers. Africa is a good example. Chinese investments in infrastructure projects across African countries have grown dramatically in recent years. Ports, railways, and power plants financed by Chinese institutions are changing the economic landscape. At the same time, China is expanding its presence in Latin America, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East. China also faces challenges. Its population is aging rapidly. Economic growth has slowed compared to previous decades. Debt levels within parts of its financial system are rising, and geopolitical tensions with other nations are increasing. In other words, the global power balance is not a simple story of one country rising while another collapses. It is a complex competition between two giants. Both countries have strengths. Both face serious challenges. The future global order may not be dominated by a single superpower. Instead, it could become more multipolar, with multiple centers of power shaping the world system. China, the United States, the European Union, India, and other emerging economies. But one thing is certain. The relationship between China and the United States will shape the 21st century. Their competition will influence global trade, technology development, military strategy, and international diplomacy. The question is not simply who will win. The real question is whether this competition can remain peaceful. History shows that rising powers and established powers often enter dangerous periods of tension. But history also shows that cooperation is possible. The world economy is deeply interconnected. Global challenges like climate change, pandemics, and financial stability require cooperation between major powers. Manufacturing, quantum computing, and advanced robotics are becoming the new battlegrounds of global competition. For years, the United States has been the global leader in technological innovation. Silicon Valley became the birthplace of companies that transformed the world. Smartphones, search engines, cloud computing, and social media platforms all grew out of American innovation ecosystems. The world's biggest tech companies still come from the United States, and their influence reaches billions of people worldwide. But China is rapidly catching up. The Chinese government has invested billions of dollars into research and development. Universities are producing huge numbers of engineers and scientists. Chinese companies are developing advanced technologies at incredible speed. Artificial intelligence is one of the biggest examples of this race. China has access to massive amounts of data, which allows its AI systems to train faster and improve rapidly. Trade wars and technology restrictions have already shown how intense this competition has become. When the United States restricted access to certain advanced technologies, Chinese companies were forced to accelerate their own research efforts. This technological rivalry is likely to define the future relationship between the two nations. This means the global system may gradually split into spheres of influence where different countries align with different economic and political partners. The world could become more fragmented than it has been in recent decades. But despite all the competition and rivalry, the economies of China and the United States remain deeply connected. Trade between the two countries is massive. Supply chains stretch across both economies. Businesses, investors, and consumers in both nations rely on this relationship in many ways. Because of this deep economic interdependence, a complete separation between the two countries would be extremely difficult and costly for the global economy. Instead, the future will likely involve a complex mixture of competition, cooperation, and strategic rivalry. The next few decades will reveal whether the 21st century becomes an era dominated by China, led by the United States, or shaped by a balance between multiple global powers. One thing is certain. The world is entering a period of historic transformation, and the outcome of this competition will shape the future of global politics, economics, and technology for generations to come. So if you like the video, then don't forget to subscribe and like our channel.